The dawn broke slowly over the Arizona frontier, spreading soft gold across the rugged mesas as the desert stirred awake. And Rancher Cole Hunter rode out before the heat set in, his old bay horse trotting steadily along the dry wash. Cole wasn't a wealthy man, truth be told. He barely had enough supplies to last through the week, and his ranch sat crooked on the land like an old hat, left in the sun too long, but he had a stubborn spirit carved from years of storms, losses, and quiet grit. As he rode along the riverbank searching for a calf that had slipped the fence the night before, he heard something faint, a broken breath, shallow and ragged, carried by the breeze like a dying whisper. Cole slowed, scanning the canyon, until he spotted a figure slumped between a fallen juniper tree and a cluster of rocks. The moment he approached, he realized with a pang that it was a young Apache man, barely more than 20, his hair tangled with dust, his face pale beneath paint long faded by the sun. His ribs showed through his chest like a washboard, his lips cracked, and one leg was wrapped with a strip of cloth soaked with dried blood. The Apache stirred weakly, eyes barely opening, and his hand trembled toward a bow lying beside him, though he didn't have the strength to lift it. Cole raised both hands in peace. "Easy now," he murmured, his voice gentle but steady. "You ain't got the strength to fight, and I ain't here to harm you." The Apache's breathing hitched with suspicion, but even fear couldn't hide his desperation. Cole could see the infection, the fever, the hunger. This man had been through hell. Coyotes had been circling, and if Cole had arrived even an hour later, the desert would have claimed another life. The rancher reached into his thul bag, pulled out a piece of jerky, nearly the last of his food, and placed it gently within the man's reach. The stranger snatched it with trembling fingers and devoured it like a starved wolf, choking between bites. Cole didn't ask who had chased him, didn't pry into whether soldiers or outlaws had driven him to this state. Some things a man didn't need to know to do what was right. He lifted the Apache carefully into the saddle, climbed up behind him, and whispered to the horse to take them home slow and steady. The man drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling in Apache, sometimes calling out a name Cole couldn't understand. By the time they reached the ranch, the young man burned with fever. Cole laid him gently on his own bed, his only bed, while he himself slept on the floor by the fire. Through the night, he fought the fever like a man battling a storm, boiling water, cooling a cloth, feeding him broth spoonful by spoonful, praying under his breath even though he didn't consider himself a religious man. Before dawn, the Apache finally opened his eyes and stared at Cole with something between confusion, caution, and relief. Cole smiled slightly, wiped sweat from the man's brow, and said, "You're safe here, friend." The Apache tried to speak. His voice cracked like dry stone. He touched his chest and said one word, "Kaya." Cole nodded. "Kaya," he repeated. "I'm Cole." For the next 2 days, Kaya recovered slowly, speaking only when necessary, his sharp eyes observing every corner of the humble cabin. He watched the patched clothes, the worn boots, the nearly empty pantry. He realized Cole was a poor man, far poorer than the townsfolk who often bragged about their generosity. And yet Cole shared food, water, shelter, and sleepless nights without hesitation. On the third night, as Cole prepared a stew made from the last vegetables he had, Kai finally asked, "Why? You help Apache?" Cole looked at him from across the firelight. "Because good men ain't supposed to leave other men to die," he answered simply. Kaya didn't respond. He only stared, long and hard, as though memorizing the truth of Cole's words. The next morning, just as the sun rose, Cole realized the bed was empty. Kaya was gone, vanished as quietly as wind over sand. Cole stepped outside, searching the horizon, but saw nothing except the long stretch of desert. He shrugged, not angry or disappointed. He wished the boy well and went back to mending the broken fence that had caused all his trouble the day he found him. But as evening approached and the sky burned orange, the ground began to tremble beneath Cole's boots, soft at first, then louder, like a roll of distant thunder growing closer and closer. Cole turned, and his breath froze. A line of riders, more than 50, emerged from the canyon shadows, moving with the silent power of a storm. They were Apache warriors. Faces painted, spears gleaming, horses decorated with beadwork and feathers that shimmered in the dying light. At their center rode a massive elder, wrapped in ceremonial furs. His hair adorned with an eagle feather headdress that told of status no ordinary warrior carried. Cole didn't dare move. When the riders stopped in a semicircle around his gate, everything fell silent except the whisper of wind. Kaya stepped forward from the crowd, standing tall now, strong, proud. And beside him, the great elder dismounted with the authority of a king. His presence was overwhelming, commanding respect without uttering a word. When he finally spoke, his deep voice rolled across the land like distant thunder. "I am Chief DeSodaha," he said, "great chief of the White Mesa Apache." Cole swallowed, unsure whether he should bow or stand his ground. The chief stepped forward, eyes burning with something powerful, gratitude, intensity, and ancient pride. "Rancher," the chief continued, "you saved my son." Cole's heart skipped. Kaya was the chief's heir, the future leader of one of the most respected Apache nations in the region. Kaya lowered his head to Cole in a gesture of deep respect. The chief lifted his staff, pointing it toward the quiet ranch. "Among my people," he said in a voice that seemed to vibrate through the earth itself. "A life saved is a debt beyond measure. And tomorrow, rancher, you will learn how the Apache repay a debt of life."